Hey everyone! Today we're going to talk about the Mormon teen who vanished and how nearly 10 years later the truth seemingly only gets darker. This is the story of how a perfect family's lies unraveled and why police now believe a suicide was actually murder. And I guess this is a good time to say that this is all just my opinion. Not all of it, but well, you'll see what's my opinion. Anyway, September 1st, 2015, St. George, Utah, a picture-perfect desert town where red rock canyons meet manicured Mormon neighborhoods. 17-year-old Macin Smith should be starting his senior year at Desert Hills High School today. He should be worried about college applications, maybe asking somebody to homecoming, living the normal life of a small-town teenager. Instead, Macin Smith, well, he doesn't exist in any official records. He's not enrolled in school. He hasn't been for weeks. His own parents don't seem to know where he spends his days. To the outside world, this quiet, anime-loving kid, well, he's already become invisible. And in just a few hours, he'll disappear completely. But here's what makes this case so chilling. 9 years later, as new details emerge about Macin's secret struggles and his family's web of lies, police are more convinced than ever that this wasn't a runaway case or a case of suicide. They believe Macin Smith was murdered, and they think his own parents know exactly what happened. For years, the Smith family presented Macin's disappearance as sudden and inexplicable, a normal kid who just vanished one morning. But in 2023, a devastating truth emerged from his uncle's testimony. Macin Smith had been living a secret hell that his parents never publicly acknowledged. The quiet teenager who loved anime and music had attempted suicide at age 15. He'd been hospitalized. He'd struggled with severe depression and felt like he didn't fit in. Painful words that take on new meaning in a conservative Mormon community where being different can feel just like a sin. But here's the shocking part. None of this was mentioned in the initial missing persons reports. For 8 years, the Smith family let the world believe Macin was just a typical teenager who simply walked away, abandoned everything. Why would parents hide their son's mental health history when he goes missing, unless they needed people to believe he was capable of simply vanishing on his own? So it's Tuesday, September 1st, 2015. According to his parents, Macin gets up, gets dressed, and tells them he's going to school. Tracy Smith, Macin's mom, claims that she watched her son walk out the front door at 10:15. It's the last time she claims to see him alive. But here's what makes this story fall apart immediately. Macin was never even enrolled in school for his senior year, and his parents knew this. School administrators confirmed that there are no enrollment records for Macin Smith. So, where was the 17-year-old spending his days? His parents claim that they had no idea he wasn't in school. But how do you not know your teenager isn't attending his senior year of high school? The answer is simple. They're lying. Most parents would call police if their child didn't come home from school. Most parents would be frantic by dinner time, panicked by midnight, calling authorities before dawn. The Smiths wait 24 hours. When they finally report Macin missing on September 2nd, they stick to their story. He left for school Tuesday morning and he never came home. They figured he was staying with friends. It's an easy thing to say, right? But when police contact his friends, none of them have heard from Macin. His phone goes straight to voicemail. There's no social media activity, no digital footprints of any kind. It's as if Macin Smith vanished from inside his own home. How could that happen? Well, investigators now believe that's exactly what happened. What happened next reveals just how manipulative the Smith family could be. They mobilized the entire St. George community into a massive search effort. Hundreds of volunteers spend days scouring red rock canyons and desert terrain, looking for a missing teenager. Church groups organize prayer vigils. Local businesses donate supplies. Search and rescue teams use helicopters and dogs to cover thousands of acres. But here's the twisted part. While all these good-hearted people are risking their safety searching brutal desert terrain, the Smith parents are telling different versions of their story to different groups. To police, Macin was fine when he left for school. To search teams, he might have been depressed. To media, he was troubled and he may have ran away. They're manipulating everyone's emotions and wasting community resources, all while knowing that their son never walked out of that door. 6 days into the massive search operation, The Smiths make a convenient discovery. All of a sudden, a suicide note in Macin's bedroom, 6 days later. But the timeline, I mean, why does it take 6 days to search your missing son's bedroom? And then the access. The bedroom door was locked from the inside. So how did Macin leave the house? And then the content? Police have never released what this 3-page note actually says. And again, the timing. This note appears just when public pressure and police scrutiny are intensifying. Oh, what a convenient time to find a suicide note. This wasn't a discovery. This was evidence planted to support their narrative that Macin killed himself somewhere in the desert where his body would never be found. Of course, this is all alleged. By 2019, the Washington Jason Schmalz has spent 4 years unraveling the Smiths family lies, and he's reached a chilling conclusion. Macin Smith didn't run away. He didn't commit suicide in the desert. He was murdered inside his own home. The search warrants executed on the Smiths' property contain explosive allegations that paint a picture of a family covering up homicide. Police believe Macin died inside the family residence. They suspect his parents disposed of his body. They think the entire going to school story was fabricated. They believe the suicide note was planted evidence. Suddenly, the perfect Mormon family are prime suspects in their own son's murder. The investigation tears the Smith family apart from the inside. Macin's uncle, David Smith, breaks the code of silence and publicly states he believes his brother and sister-in-law are lying about Macin's disappearance. This creates a devastating rift in the extended family. Other relatives are forced to choose sides, support Tracy and Darren, or believe that they murdered their own son. The once tight Mormon community splits down the middle. Some still see grieving parents being unfairly persecuted, while others see murderers who've been lying for years. Meanwhile, Tracy and Darren Smith lawyer up and they stop cooperating with the investigation altogether. What investigators discovered during their digital forensic investigation hasn't been made public, but the timing of their search warrants suggests that they found something significant on the family's electronic devices. Think about it. In 2015, most teenagers were constantly on their phones, just like today. Social media, texting, gaming, music streaming. There should be digital breadcrumbs everywhere for investigators to follow. But Macin's digital footprint stops abruptly on September 1st, 2015. No final social media post, no goodbye message to friends, no evidence he was planning to disappear. This digital silence doesn't support suicide or running away. It supports something happening so suddenly that Macin never had a chance to use his phone again. Here's a theory that investigators likely believe, based on the available evidence. Macin Smith was struggling with depression and identity issues in a conservative Mormon household. Maybe he was questioning his faith, maybe his sexuality, maybe just his place in a community that demands conformity. Who knows? But on the morning of September 1st, something happened inside that house. An argument. A revelation, a moment of family conflict that escalated beyond anybody's control. When it was over, Macin was dead. His parents had a choice. They either call 911 and face the consequences, or cover it up and hope that they could make everybody believe that their son simply disappeared. They chose the cover-up. For nearly a decade, the Smith family's plan almost worked perfectly. Create the illusion that Macin left alive by claiming that he went to school, delay reporting to give them time to dispose of evidence, plant the suicide note to explain why no body would be found, manipulate the community into searching areas where they knew Macin wasn't going to be, and control the narrative by giving different stories to different people. If not for Detective Schmalz's persistence and modern investigative techniques, they might have gotten away with it. But as of 2025, nearly 10 years later, a decade has basically passed since Macin Smith disappeared. His parents have maintained their innocence, but refused to speak publicly about the case. No charges have been filed, but that doesn't mean the investigation is over. Cold cases can break open years or even decades later when new technology, witnesses, or evidence emerges. The Smith family has spent 9 years living with the knowledge of what really happened that morning in September 2015. How do you not know your 17-year-old son isn't enrolled in school? Why wait 24 hours to report him missing? How does a bedroom door get locked from the inside if he left the house? Why do your stories keep changing? What does that suicide note really say? And where is Macin's body? Until the Smith family decides to tell the truth, these questions will continue to haunt St. George, Utah, and everybody who followed this case and everybody who cared about Macin. So here's what makes the Macin Smith case different from all the other cold cases. The truth does exist. It's not lost to time or to lack of evidence. I mean, it's right there. Two people know exactly what happened to Macin Smith on September 1st, 2015. They've been living in the same house where their son died for 9 years now, nearly 10. They've attended his memorial service. They've accepted condolences from friends and family. They've watched hundreds of people risk their lives searching for a body they know won't be found. But secrets have a way of destroying the people who keep them. Marriages crumble under the weight of shared guilt. Consciences eventually demand confession, and sometimes people simply can't live with what they've done anymore. Detective Schmalz is still working this case. The FBI is still involved, and somewhere in the evidence they've collected, the digital forensics, the witness statements, the timeline analysis, it may be the key to finally getting justice for Macin Smith. I hope so. Macin Smith would be 28 years old today if he were still alive, if he were still here. He might have graduated college, started a career, maybe even had a family of his own. Instead, he's become a symbol of how far people will go to protect their secrets and how a community's trust can be manipulated by those who appear most trustworthy. His case serves as a reminder that the most dangerous predators aren't strangers lurking in the shadows. I've said this before. They're sometimes the people who are supposed to protect us the most. And until Tracy and Darren Smith decide to tell the truth about what happened in their house on September 1st, 2015, Macin will never truly rest in peace. The question isn't whether they're guilty. I mean, I don't think anyway. The question is, how much longer can they live with what they've done? How much longer can they keep this lie? If you have any information about the disappearance of Macin Smith, please contact the Washington County Sheriff's Office at 435-656-6500. Even after 9 years, it's never too late to do the right thing. As always, thanks for watching. I'm Caroline. This is Hidden Headlines. Please subscribe if you like this content. I appreciate y'all staying till the end, and I will see you soon, okay? Thanks. Bye.